Here we go. Let's talk about the Atlas Society, and one of the topics, the value of labor versus capital. It's my pleasure to welcome Dr. David Kelley to the show. He is founder and now retired Chief Intellectual Officer of the Atlas Society, coming to us from Washington, D.C. David, welcome. How are you?
Thanks, Jason. I'm great.
It's good to have you. So what is the Atlas Society?
The Atlas Society is an organization I founded in 1990 to promote the ideas of Ayn Rand and her philosophy of objectivism, and to do it with a greater spirit of openness and engagement with people who are interested in the ideas but not necessarily convinced yet. We also have, of course, a great many people who are, lifelong objectivists as a way of life and a way of thought.
Mm-hmm.
But we wanted to promote the ideas, to promote scholarship, reaching deeper and exploring the ideas at a fully academic way, really.
Mm-hmm.
But also to teach what it means to apply the ideas to your own life and to the political and cultural issues that we have around us.
Sure.
We've published a huge amount of articles and now lots and lots of videos and audio courses and so forth.
Yeah, it is really amazing the movement Ayn Rand started and how her book sales, I guess, especially of Atlas Shrugged, that, give or take 1,200-page masterwork, tour de force.
Exactly.
How well it sells years later, and how, at least when Obama was president, she really predicted a lot of things. Many things were sadly coming true. Maybe the pattern is reversed. We can talk about that. But what do you attribute that to? Why has the Ayn Rand philosophy, why has objectivism been so enduring?
Well, I think there are two reasons. One is the point you just mentioned, that the book was written in 1957, but readers today, readers during the Obama era, and I would say even it continues into the Trump era, so many things are happening around us in the real world that very relatable to the sequence of events that she described in Atlas Shrugged, which is a story about a society in which government is increasingly growing, adding layers upon layer of regulation, wielding increasing power, controlling investments, business, and to the point where growth slows and the economy ultimately collapses. But so many of the steps along the way in the novel are happening not exactly as she wrote. She wasn't literally trying to predict. She was telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, her prescience is, I would say, one big factor. Another one is simply that this is a great book. It's an intellectual thriller. It has a philosophical mystery at its core. It has larger-than-life characters, but ones that you can relate to as ideals, as heroes. It has a very inspiring call for freedom, both political and economic freedom, but also the human freedom to aspire and follow your dream. So I think many, many people have related to different aspects of it. Atlas Shrugged was a very a huge influence on the libertarian movement. But it's also, over the years, I've met so many people who aren't all that interested in politics per se, but they say it changed my life. It gave me the courage to do something that bold, risky, but ultimately really fulfilling.
Sure. You mentioned the characters, and I don't know how much of this you want to give away because many people listening probably haven't read the book. Maybe some aren't even familiar with Ayn Rand. But the famous question is, who is John Galt?
Yeah. Well, we can ask the question because the novel actually starts with that question. It's the first line of the book. But I really hate to give away spoilers. But that John Galt is a character who, the phrase, who is John Galt, is introduced in the book as a symbol of despair and resignation to what seems to be a general decline in the economy, in people's lives. And it becomes increasingly clear that there actually is a person named John Galt. We don't meet him until part 3, the last part of the novel. Yeah. And we learn why. We get the answer to several big mysteries about what's been going on in the story up to that point. So I hate to give away the.
I wasn't
the
actually asking you to give it away. Yeah, I was sort of teasing the idea there a little bit. So I hope you didn't think I was asking for a spoiler. But it's interesting. Let's talk about how this interplays with the economy, because so many of our listeners are investors and they're thinking about personal finance and so forth. The age old, well, maybe it's not. It's age old enough, but it's not that old. I would argue that the most famous economist who ever lived, sadly, was Karl Marx, right? Is that a fair statement, you think?
In terms of the following that he gathered, absolutely. I don't think he was a very good economist.
I don't think so either, but he influenced more of the human race than possibly any other non-religious figure, okay? And well, it kind of became a religion, sadly. And that desperate experiment has just failed many places on Earth and many times in history. And we see this movement in America from the left, with AOC and Bernie Sanders and others promoting these same worn-out ideas that just fail every time. Why is that happening? It boggles the mind. It boggles my mind, at least.
I think the answer lies in ethics. Karl Marx wrote Das Kapital, which is a work of economics. But what really attracted the following is not people who were, reading his economic textbook saying, oh, yeah, that's right. No, they were responding to his call for equality, for distributing the goods from the capitalists to the workers. And that is still the same siren call that people have today. You can hardly lose in politics by offering some people something for nothing. And Marx was, his famous statement, from each according to his ability, to each according to his need.
Yeah.
And people thought, okay, I like that morality. I like its brotherhood, its solidarity, its altruism. And those are morally good things. And that's why it keeps coming back, because, you can point out the economic disasters and the political disasters of the communist era all you want. But you have to get at, and this is what we specialize in at the Outlaw Society, you have to get at the corrupt moral foundation. You have to defend the individual's moral right to live his own life and to deal with other people freely.
That's what people never realize, though. It's like this childish mentality that just says, give me, give me, give me, redistribute the wealth, give me free healthcare, give me free this, give me free that. But they never stop to consider that someone actually has to produce some value in the economy to pay for that. You have to enslave another human essentially at the point of a gun, because that's what it all comes down to. If you don't pay your taxes, eventually people will show up at your door with guns and handcuffs and take you away. And that's slavery, right? I mean, you can't be anything else.
But this is where Marx was very clever, and the Marxists today are very clever, because they say, okay, you can call that slavery, but look, in a capitalist economy, workers are slaves of the owners. The owners are just after profit. They exploit the workers.
Right.
They exploit consumers. And so we're just countering one form of coercion with another form of coercion. Now, that's a fallacy.
That's what they say. And that's exactly where I wanted you to go with this discussion, by the way. That's exactly where I wanted you to go, because the crux of it seems to be this age-old debate between the value of labor versus the value of capital. And I'd like to get into that with you, but just finish up your point there, if you would, and then we'll go there.
Yes, and I think the underlying connection here is that Marx also introduced class analysis, class conflict, and his focused on workers versus capitalists, business owners, and investors. Today, that's been expanded to men exploiting women, whites exploiting minorities. This whole idea of political correctness is essentially about class conflict. And they got that idea from Marx. So once you set up class conflict, it just completely undermines the idea of a free economy, of people who are dealing peacefully and voluntarily with each other. Some succeed more than others, fine, but no one loses out from being part of an economy in the long run. that is free. The most productive people shower all kinds of benefits on us, way beyond any wealth that they actually get personally.
Mm-hmm. But some of them do get incredible wealth. But the question is, it's a question of allocation. Look, at capital always has some restriction on it, and labor always has some limit to what it can earn. So the question is always really just a matter of degree, right? I mean, nobody's going to invest or save to have the ability to invest in the first place if capital formation isn't rewarded. The fools on the left don't seem to understand that. They think, investors should get no return on their money, right? But of course, they won't invest if they don't get a return. They won't bother to form capital. Everybody will just be living a hedonistic instant gratification life if there's no reward for delaying gratification, right?
Right. Although in that case, it will be a declining form of hedonism because it will lead to increasing poverty.
Sure. No argument there. But I'm just saying that the decision we all have to make every day with virtually everything we do is, do I want a reward now, or do I want to wait and delay gratification for a bigger reward later? We can all just eat till, we become gluttons. We can have sex all day. We can get drunk. We can abuse our bodies for a momentary pleasure, or we can just be spendthrifts and spend all our money and not save any and not invest any. But we have to be rewarded for something longer term. There has to be a vision of a bigger future to delay gratification today, right? I mean, that's in essence the debate we all have, right, as humans, and we make trade-offs in both directions for that. We'll be back with part 2 of this interview on tomorrow's episode. Thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes. Be sure to check out the show's specific website and our general website, hartmanmedia.com, for appropriate disclaimers and terms of service. Remember that guest opinions are their own, and if you require specific legal or tax advice or advice in any other specialized area, please consult an appropriate professional. And we also very much appreciate you reviewing the show. Please go to iTunes or Stitcher Radio or whatever platform you're using and write a review for the show. We would very much appreciate that. And be sure to make it official and subscribe so you do not miss any episodes. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.